Dry the nails in my hand. God bless you, Lord. Laughing where you stand. Go ahead. Say it isn't me. The time will come. Just wait and see. 'Cause I'll rise again. Hallelujah. Can't no power nothing hold me down. I'll rise again. Earth can't keep my body in the ground. Bless you. Chapter 28, verses 1 through 6. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began done, towards the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And to feel him, the keeper did shake and became as dead men. And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come see the place where the Lord lay. Let's go to Luke chapter 12. A little further in the Gospels. Let's begin reading at verse 17. Give the time. Luke 12. Let's go to Luke 12. 12. Luke 12. Luke. Luke 12. Luke 12. You find these words interwoven therein. And he thought, says verse 17, within himself, saying, What shall I do? For I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? I want to talk with you about the great danger of celebrating too soon. The great danger of celebrating too soon. The great danger of celebrating too soon. This book that we have set before us, this piece of living literature, this the book of truth, the Bible. When you evaluate it, critique it, when you monitor it closely, read its pages thoroughly. When you assess it with a colossal level of concern, you will discover that this book is replete, complete, punctuated, tempered with episodes and events of personalities and characters who have encountered the great danger of celebrating too soon. There are many textual indications of this. There were one, you remember, inscribed in the book of Esther. In the book of Esther, you will discover a story concerning this certain high-ranking governmental official by the name of Haman. You remember? Haman, his dislike, his bitterness, his distaste, his hatred for one Jew was so audacious and so intense until he sought to obliterate, annihilate, wipe out an entire population. He wanted the Jewish culture to be eliminated from the face of the planet. And And you remember, he was successful in getting the king of Persia to go along with his hellish plot and disdain scheme of genocide of all the Jews within the empire of Persia. And of course, the king was uninformed. He knew not that his wife, Queen Esther, was a part of the Jewish race. And so being unaware, uninformed, being ignorant of the fact, having no knowledge, really not knowing, Haman got the yes word from the king to put to death every Jew within the kingdom of Persia. Oh, what an exciting day for Haman. After the proper approval, after permission was given to Haman, Haman immediately went out and ordered a 75-foot gallows to be erected to hang this Jew he hated so badly by the name of Mordecai, the uncle to the queen of Persia, Queen Esther. And he made plans to assassinate every occupant within the Persian Empire that possessed Jewish blood. Well, the gallows were built. Haman is happy. He went to banquet one night, escorted by the king and queen of Persia. He wanted to celebrate the fact that his evil plot to kill Mordecai and to obliterate the Jewish regime in Persia was about to soon come to pass. Oh, what a celebration that night. Toasting, roasting, drinking, dancing, bawling and disco. What a celebration Haman encountered. Oh, I tell you, Haman is ecstatic, excited, sonorous. Oh, he's pleased and proud that his plot will soon come into fruition. But I really don't know how the king received the news, but shortly after the banquet, the king discovered that the woman he loved, he soon discovered the woman that was dear to his heart, the queen of Persia, Queen Esther. He discovered that she had Jewish blood running through her veins. And he had given the consent that all Jews would be put to death. He knew if he allowed this genocide to proceed, that his wife would be caught up in the reaper of this awesome judgment. And so he thought about what Haman had done. he discovered that Haman must have known that his wife was a Jew. And so he got infuriated, got awful mad with Haman, and as a result of his madness, immediately he rescinded his orders. Instead of allowing all the Jews to be killed within the kingdom of Persia, instead of allowing Haman to hang his dreaded enemy Mordecai on the gallows that he had ordered to be built, instead the king commanded and ordered that all of Haman's family be annihilated, killed, and murdered. And then he gave the command that Haman himself will be hung from that same wall that he himself had built for the Jewish enemy Mordecai. Obviously, Haman didn't remember Galatians. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever man soweth, so shall he reap. Obviously, he had forgotten the old cliche that is rendered among human men. Did one did, you better did two. The next one you did may be for you. Oh, I tell you, I don't have to inform you what Haman experienced. He experienced the danger of celebrating too soon. I'm trying to tell you, there's a great danger in celebrating too soon. In the book of Daniel, there was another man who encountered the great danger of celebrating too soon. You remember, it was King Belshazzar, the grandson of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. This king, you remember, he prepared a great feast for all of the high-ranking members of his royal cabinet. On this night of celebration, to prove that his idol gods were supreme over the true and living God, Jehovah, he ordered that those vessels of gold, those holy vessels, those sacred vessels, those divine vessels that had been retrieved from the Lord's house, those vessels of gold that was so sacred and so holy to God, those vessels that was abstracted and taken from the temple in Jerusalem during the invasion of Jerusalem under the tyrannical reign and rule of his granddaddy, King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon at the time. Oh, brothers and sisters, Belshazzar, he ordered those vessels to be retrieved and brought down to the ballroom so they could drink wine out of those holy vessels to make mockery to the God of the heavens and to the earth. They drank that night. They partied that night. They dined that night. They wined that night. Oh, what a celebration. While the celebration was going on, and while the roasting, and while the toasting, and while the drinking, and all of a sudden, the party was interrupted. The crowd that had gathered in that ballroom were almost frightened out of their senses. A strange hand, not an arm, not an elbow, not a shoulder. They looked up and saw a hand.
Come on, preacher.
Out of nowhere. And this strange hand proceeded to write some strange communication on the wall.
Right.
This episode was later to be called the handwriting on the wall.
Come on, preacher.
You remember the God-man Daniel was brought in to read this handwriting on the wall. After listening to Daniel as he interpreted this writing, this king had found discovered that he had celebrated too soon.
Come on, preacher.
He found out on this night his party would be cut short, his life would be lost, and his kingdom of great mighty Babylon, which once stood, would stand no more forever. King experienced the great danger of celebrating too soon. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, there's a great danger of celebrating too soon. But then we have a premier example of a person right here in Luke's Gospel chapter 12. A prime example of a person who celebrated too soon. Here was a man that the Bible calls the rich fool. The Bible says that he was most successful as a farmer. He owned much green, rich, fertile land in his area. Year after year, his land brought forth, his land produced fine, productive crops. It was told to us by Luke that this man developed so much until he soon ran out of storage space. The surplus was astronomical. The dividend was unspeakable. Oh, one can imagine when he first built his existing barn, he had no knowledge. This man never anticipated such an increase of producing other delectable items. So Luke the writer tells us that now the farmer, now the rich man is faced with a problem. And the problem is, I have so much produce, but I don't have enough storage space. He ordered the servants, fill, occupy, utilize every nook and corner of the barns that are already existing with the surplus. But then it was told to us that while the servant was putting the surplus, putting the rest of his produce, trying to find space in his barn, they discovered that he had ran out of barns. Came back and reported this to the rich man. They said, sir, absolutely no more room left. Your goods are left open. There's no room to restore the rest of your goods. Well, I don't know. I don't know the mindset of these servants, but when these servants had now reported to this rich man that they had now ran out of store space, in all probability, I like to believe that these servants, they really expected this rich man to give them the surplus. At least give them the rest that he could not hold. Because after all, they served him with heart. Their dedication was unspeakable. But Luke tells us that this man says nothing regarding to this. What Luke said, that the rich man, he ordered his servants to go back, tear down the old barn, and build larger barns, so he could keep everything for who? Himself, and himself only. If you notice, Luke never mentioned this rich man even thanking God for his overwhelming success. And he didn't even mention the name of his servant, didn't even thank his servant for their assistance. If you notice, he gave all the credit to who? Himself. And you know as well as I know in all actuality, you know I don't have to tell you this, it was God's resource and the servant's energy that made the difference. Oh, yes, it was God and the servant who had brought this man into such abundance. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a man becoming rich because of God's land, sunshine, rain, atmosphere, moonlight, dewdrop, and yet he never mentioned God's name? Listen to what he says in verse 18. He says, this will I do. I'm going to pour down my barns and build greater, and there will I store all of my fruits and my goods. Brothers and sisters, the man with the bed one night, Luke says, he said to his soul in verse 19, he said, this calls for a real celebration. After looking what he had accomplished, looking about how much he got, he says, this is a celebration that I need to render for myself. He says to his soul, he says, soul, let's take it easy for now, because tomorrow we're going to have a good time. Tomorrow we're going to live it up. Tomorrow we're going to party. Tomorrow everything is going to be all right. But the Bible said that same night God dispatched an angel of death. And this angel walked into the rich man's bedroom and said unto him, thou fool, thou fool, you are celebrating too soon. This night, thy soul is required unto thee. My brother and my sisters, I want you to know that the rich man encountered the danger of celebrating too soon. But then they get ready to leave you on this resurrection morning. I am vividly aware of another episode. There were two infamous characters by the name of Brother Death and Mr. Grave. You remember a few days ago, 2,080 years ago, out on a hill they call Calvary, the Christ hung in agony, and he hung in pain. As he hung, here is these two brothers standing there waiting for Jesus to die. You gotta understand that Mr. Death and Brother Grave have been running buddies now for a long time. Between the two, you need to know, with the exception of Enoch and Elijah, these two brothers had conquered all human life since the beginning of time. I'm sure you know it is Mr. Death's job to take away a person's life by any available means, and once that person's life has been defeated by death, it is then death's job to hand the person over to the grave, and it is the grave job to keep that person in the ground. All down through the fist of time, Mr. Death and Brother Grave had enjoyed phenomenal success. Y'all know him. From the beginning of time, Mr. Death and Mr. Grave had rejoiced. They was excited because out of all human life that was on the planet, we haven't lost but two, Enoch and Elijah. Y'all know him. And they made up their mind that they weren't going to let nobody else escape. They found out their mistake when Enoch and Elijah escaped them. Y'all know him. They said after Enoch and Elijah escaped them, they made a promise nobody else would escape us. Y'all know him. We have got to do that this man called Jesus was a bad man. We have got to do that this man called Jesus was greater than Enoch and Elijah. Y'all know him. So both of them gathered around the cross called Calvary. Y'all know him. Death stood on the right, while the grave stood on the left. Y'all know him. Death stood there, the grave stood there, and they were waiting grave. Y'all don't hear me. Death rushed and grabbed him. Y'all don't hear me. Death in that grave. We're going to get him off the cross. I'm going to put him in your hand. Y'all don't hear me. And I want you to keep it. Don't let it go. Watch over him day and night. Y'all don't hear me. Grave said to death, don't worry, don't worry, I got him. Y'all don't hear me. I got Adam, I got Shem, I got Methuselah, I got Jacob, I got Abraham, I got Isaac, I got Abram, I got it all under control. Y'all don't hear me. That's right tonight. The grave successfully had Jesus in his grasp, in his arms. Y'all don't hear me. I want you to know, Friday night, Mr. Death and Mother Grave met in Jerusalem. They start giving each other high fives. Y'all don't hear me. church is open. You'll find out that I'm the one. Go ahead. Say I'm dead gone. Oh, that anybody else? That anybody else on this resurrection day? Aren't we glad for this song?